Well, here we are, everybody. Welcome. A lovely Wednesday here at Placed in Shelter. Your host, Ryan Catarozoli. If you are watching on YouTube and want to be a part of the discussion, ask any questions. 3 p.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday. You can use the description link. It'll take you right into our Zoom meeting every single day. And with that, I'm going to start out with a bit of a quarantine update. And it originally was pretty simple. I've been talking with our daycare provider, and we were talking about the idea of potentially having the kids go back to daycare for a couple of days when Kay's at work. So instead of having to take emails, phone calls, Zoom meetings, script writing, all while making sure that the minions don't burn the house down or hurt themselves. Oh, and changing diapers and feeding them at the same time. So nothing's set in stone. We're still playing it by ear. But just the sheer talking about taking them to daycare and feeling like life is getting back to normal is heaven. Well, that's where it was going to end. But then as I was literally writing the last sentence of that, my daughter comes running in and says, Daddy, I have to go to the bathroom. Now, I don't know if this is true for everybody, but I would imagine it's probably the case. When my daughter has to go to the bathroom, she's almost 3, there's no such thing as Daddy, I have to go to the bathroom. It's Daddy, I have to go to the bathroom, and you've got about 3.5 seconds to get me there, or we're going to be in the bathtub taking a bath. So I grabbed her, scooped her up, and did a full-on American Ninja Warrior. I'm hurdling chairs, jumping over the counter, swinging from pendants. And right when I get to the top of Mount Midoriyami and I hit the buzzer and get her on the toilet to go to the bathroom, I'm feeling like I won. Well, meanwhile, in another world, Chase was left out of the playpen. And while I was racing to the top of the mountain, Chase decided to find the one and only plant in the entire house. Why I have a plant, I don't know, but now there's dirt all over the house. The entire pot completely dumped out, dirt everywhere, plant uprooted, and he was just sitting there playing in it like the sandbox. And at that point, I thought about daycare again, and when I said heaven, I meant heaven. Please let them go back to daycare. So with that, I'm going to take us into today's episode. Hope you enjoyed my pain there. And today's episode is going to be what's the difference? And, this stemmed from an email that I got because we were talking about merchandisers way back in episode number 2. And the focus of that show was to extend it hold times, to figure out what were the best ways, kind of a guideline to success on how to get the best food quality and food holding times out of a merchandiser. But somebody emailed me and they said, well, what's the difference? There's so many to choose from. And I thought, you know what, that's a great topic for today's show. So let's talk about the different merchandisers. This is going to be a 2-part talk. So number 1, obviously merchandisers, the reason they're so successful is because of the accessibility. Right? We talked about how they've done studies that show anytime there's an obstruction between the customer and them getting to food product, they're less likely to purchase the food product. So although they may have less of a hold time for food quality, not food safety, the food quality will degrade, but the food safety is there. But they're still extremely popular on the market. And the reason for that is the accessibility of the merchandise. So that's why they're so prevalent. But now let's talk about the differences between I'm going to call it 5 different Hatco models that we have. So starting out, I want to talk about the GRSDS or the GRSDH. And really it's just a glow ray shelf, dual, horizontal, or slanted. So you have some options here. But this is your basic option, okay? This was kind of the merchandiser that started it all. But you're still incorporating all of the same elements, right? You have an overhead strip heater, and then you have a base blanket element, thermostatically controlled, so it's still going to give you long quality hold times. Don't forget though, when I say base model, some people always think, the least expensive option, or it's not quite what I'm looking for. Don't be alarmed. Remember this unit here. This is a GRSDS. This is that original unit. But you can see here, we added LED lights. We've added a nice black trivet. We've also put a bright annealed stainless flip door on the back to give you a mirrored approach. So it looks like there's more food product in there than there really is. We've also got sign holders on here. You can really doctor this one up if you're looking for something a little more aesthetically pleasing without spending a ton of money. So that takes us into number 2. Oddly enough, this one is the GR2 SDS and GR2 SDH. Well, what's the difference? Well, the difference is obviously the 2 stands for the second level. It's a second design, and we call this our designer series. So you can see from the picture here, we have the bull noses that can still come in different colors. You have the color inserts on the top of them, but guess what? The basic elements here remain the same. You're not going to see any longer hold times or any longer hold quality versus, the original one and this one. It is simply the look that you're going for. If you prefer this look over the look that we just saw, then this is the option for you. But just know that your basics remain the same. Moving along to number 3, and oddly enough, we call this the GR3 SDS or SDH. 3 standing for the third evolution in merchandisers. And what's the difference? Difference here is we're using glass shelves as opposed to solid shelves. Now, the electrodes are baked into the glass, and essentially in layman's terms, the glass becomes the resistance. So with this particular model, the glass heats up and not only gives you base heat, but also radiates heat down to the lower level. So once again, you're getting overhead heat and you're getting base heat at the same time. But here you're getting the glass, so it gives you the see-through. It allows the food to look as if it's floating, and it gives you a little cleaner look. Now, one other additional thing with the GR3s is because that glass on the top is not a solid base like it is on this particular model, you actually get a bonus shelf. The bonus shelf on top is not going to have overhead heat, but it will have base heat. So all the same rules with the GRS, a heated shelf, apply. You can utilize it the exact same way. Next up, we have our HXM, the HXMH or HXMS for horizontal or slant. And what's the difference? So here, you're utilizing the same base heat with the same overhead strip heaters, but the difference becomes standard LED lighting and an elliptical design. Again, your food quality and food hold times remain the same, but this particular model, you're looking at a totally different look. If that's what you're going for in the store, if that fits the theme, then this would be the option for you. But know that the hold times and the qualities remain the same. And then moving on, did you tell that I changed the picture? This is the HZ or zone merchandiser in both horizontal or slant. Now this one is different, and although as I go back and forth here, they look very similar, right? But one big difference. Take a look in the middle here. See this little spot? It's got little holes on it where the mouse is. If I go back, this one just has divider bars. This one has spot-on technology. And what's happening here is instead of a simple cal rod element, we're actually using ribbon elements over the top. Those ribbon elements can get up to temperature in around 10 seconds. So what happens is, as I place food, the eyes then sense that there's product there. That ribbon element turns on, and within 10 seconds, I'm back up to temperature and I'm holding. When food is removed and there's nothing in that particular space, it will shut that ribbon element down for some energy savings. Now, there's no chart. I can't tell you how much energy savings you're going to have because every single store is going to be completely different. So some people will say, I never want my merchandiser empty. I always want food products in there. And in that case, you're not going to gain any energy savings. And then vice versa, if I were to have the unit emptied at certain times, it's hard to add up all the exact times when there's no product in there. So it's hard to actually put a chart as to how much energy savings you're getting. But you can have the different temperatures and you can have the different zones. And you can have between 2 and 12 zones depending on size. So each size of this will allow for a certain number of zones, and you can change those accordingly. But here you're going to get the same elliptical design, glass on the sides, LED look, but remember, ribbon elements and zones. If those aren't important to you, then one of the other models is. If having different zones, different temperatures, and some potential energy savings, then this would be the option for you. So, in summary, the biggest difference between all of them, the look that you're going for, and then the size that you're going for. Last thing is the size, because there are certain models that come in triples and also widths that you cannot get in other models. So those will be the two big points that I will remember from this. And with that, that's going to wrap up today's talk. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. If you want to use the chat box at the bottom of the screen, you can go ahead and open up the chat window and ask any questions that you like. The glasses on a hinge, correct, yes. So those on the HZM and the HXM are on a hinge. So they do slide out, they open like doors so that you can clean both the inside and outside. In the other models, they still have glass on the outside. However, that's just simply either removable by sliding it out, or you can just reach on the inside and clean it that way. Here we go. Are LED lights available for the GR SDS? Great question, Lou. So yes, if you remember to the picture that I had right in the beginning, there was a black model. And if you remember when I said the GR SDS was a basic model, and then I showed a black version of it that we kind of doctored up, and that one had the LED lights. Now, the LED lights are going to be the Chef LED. And if you missed that episode, it's called Enlightened. It was a few episodes ago, and that talks all about our Chef LED bulbs. And yes, those are available on both the GRS series and the GR2 series. All right, well, if that wraps up the questions, now you know the difference between the different merchandisers, and you can tell which one that you need. And with that, I'm going to share my screen again for the only reason everybody shows up, and that's going to be the memes of the day. Two of these came from Ann in advertising, who again is the magic behind the scenes that's editing and fixing all the corrections that need to be made before the videos go live on YouTube. And the one in the middle is from our co-host and moderator, Joe McCullough. So first off, we've got, this is a perfect one here. Are you drinking more while in lockdown? Yes or no? That's where I put the X, somewhere in the middle. Here was a good one. This one came from Joe. Bought a Costco sheet cake because I figured we could use some cheer around here. And the toddler completely freaked out, demanding to know whose birthday it was. I explained you can just buy a cake when you want if you're grown up. Well, there was a long back and forth, and eventually we agreed that it's my birthday. I can totally see that if I were to try to bring a sheet cake home. Tenley would demand to know whose birthday it is. And last but not least, just when the fear of Corona was on a decline, released the murder hornets. So if you haven't seen this story yet, these things are crazy. They can get like 2 inches long. And there's the guy that has a YouTube channel strictly on getting stung or bit by strange creatures and animals. And he apparently got stung by this murder hornet and said it was the most excruciating pain he's ever felt in his life. So, you know, welcome to the United States. I believe Washington, you're the first to have murder hornets. So, good times. And that's going to wrap up our Wednesday episode of Placed in Shelter. Once again, if you're watching on YouTube, you can always catch us live 3 p.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday. Be a part of the conversation. If you are subscribed, you can hit the bell notification right down here. It'll let you know every time we place new videos. And let us know you're enjoying the content by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Thanks, everybody. Have a nice day.